My name is Kamau Ware. I am the creator of Buffalo Sonnet. I'm an artist and historian and an avid walker. Buffalo Sonnet is a digital comic book, but it's also a prayer for people who've dealt with violent displacement, in particular of the African diaspora, and is based in San Juan Hill in New York City. Buffalo Sonnet, we really kind of focus on a child. He's given a basic errand, but while he's moving through the neighborhood, he's coming across people that want to look out for him. And so he has to reconcile at every corner safety, while he's also just like thinking about what he wants to be as an artist, but he also is seeing in real time the power of Black creativity in this real actual musical called Shuffle Along. Imagine being a kid and you're seeing something for the first time that anybody's ever seen. This is the first major Black Broadway musical happening in San Juan. It's impossible to not have that impact his life. But then you have somebody coming from the South named Barbara, who's coming up from North Carolina, who's escaping violence. And so there's violence in New York that people might not necessarily know because it's the North, but then there's like that very well-known, well-documented violence to the South. And so San Juan Hill becomes this location where a portrait takes place over different characters' interactions. I think that we want to find ways from a writing standpoint to just give voice to all those possibilities in just a walk down the street. And the infinite scroll really felt in ways analogous to a walk, like you're actually walking through a story.
So a lot of characters go through a lot of stages. They start off with color images, but really getting ground to the granular as far as getting it to the style that we have in terms of black and white, also bit mapping. Having background photography kind of helped, just being able to see images from a different point of view.
I have been leaning into photography as a method to tell comics for about 10 years. And so I think that the beauty of photography as an illustrative element is it allows more people to literally walk into the comic with you. And so it's not like you're cutting a corner, you're making a movie. It's costume, it's wardrobe, you have to feed the talent. You know, it's one thing to sit back and draw it all, which is a tried and true, but by asking people to step in and play characters from the 1920s, you hear a room of folks talking about a century ago and referencing great-grandparents and how their lives are similar but also different in the kind of clothes that their great-grandparents would have wore.
Almost all of my suits I got from my father, and I actually have a lot of suiting from my grandfather. So I literally took a lot of the garments that I had and I brought them along to the shoot. And again, not only did they look like they were from that era, but some of the garments actually were.
It was good that I came in and there was already like images that Kamau and Issa had already gathered. I got to like really look at those images, read about the project and read about San Juan Hill. It is important to do that because it really allows for the characters and the stories to come to life. And obviously fashion is a very important visual element to doing that.
We sort of had to figure out what like the comic book treatment for those photographs would be, since it's sort of more of like a collage-based visual. Me and Kamau sort of went through different archives looking for other photographs or pieces of photographs to include to give it that like old New York feel.
So one like big serious problem in particular when looking at Black stories is there's a degree of missing history or missing archive. And it feels fitting that something that is innocent and childlike as toys can be used to address this large problem. Even though there might not be images for every moment in time, you can recreate those things with people and toys to make a composite that's like, oh, that's that moment.
Most people do not know that San Juan Hill is present-day Lincoln Center. And I think that just really goes into the large cache of stories in New York City that people do not know about.
I would say out of all the different Black communities that have happened in New York City, especially in the 20th century, it is the peak erasure neighborhood. And so we're able to now tell a story that ties in the context of research we've been doing for like 10 years. And so we can connect it to what's happening in Harlem, what's happening with Seneca Village, and really situate this story in a way that speaks to why there's a need for some healing. I think a lot of the displacement of Black people have been violent, and that violence has not gone anywhere to metabolize. It just shows up in ways that are problematic and need to be looked at. So that's why it's a prayer, but also I think it's a neighborhood that reflects what has happened to many Black neighborhoods in Manhattan.
Quite literally, if you look up San Juan Hill in Google, a lot of the images that come up are the demolished neighborhood. So I think being able to put visuals to a story that is deeply varied is really important. Maybe the first thing you're gonna see is this beautiful representation and story instead of this fully demolished neighborhood.
There's all these different elements, but at the end of the day, Buffalo Sonnet it's a 14-line prayer.